Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to another Optimize Plus One. In our last Plus One, we talked about my recent Philosopher's Notes-a-thon. 25 PMs in 2.5 days for the win. One of the notes I really enjoyed was on The Happiness Diet by Tyler Graham and Drew Ramsey, MD. The whole book and note is fantastic, and as you may have guessed by the title, it's all about how a much larger percentage of our happiness is driven by our diet than we may have suspected. Recall that something like 80 to 90% of your feel-good serotonin is produced in your gut. That stat always blows me away. Therefore, optimizing our diets should be a primary part of our psychiatrist or therapist protocol. Tragically, it's typically not, at least not yet. Today, I want to focus on this epic little wisdom gem. They say, and I quote, "A large study recently published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that eating processed foods, such as refined carbohydrates, sweets, and processed meats, increased the risk of depression by about 60%. Eating a whole food diet, on the other hand, decreased the risk of the disease by about 26%, end quote. Let's reread that. I quote again, "A large study recently published in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that eating processed foods, such as refined carbohydrates, sweets, and processed meats, increased the risk of depression by about 60%. Eating a whole food diet, on the other hand, decreased the risk of the disease by about 26%, end quote. Now, let's do the math. If you're eating a standard modern diet, also known as the Standard American Diet, abbreviated as SAD or SAD, with all that processed food and refined carbs, you're 60% more likely to be depressed." Pause, reflect on that stat. If we assume a baseline of 1, a 60% increased risk of depression would put us at 1.6. Now, if you switch to eating a healthier, whole food-based diet, your risk of getting depression would go down by 26% from that baseline. Assuming the baseline of 1, that would put you at 0.74. Now, if my rough napkin math is correct, that means that you're basically twice as likely to be depressed on the SAD diet than you would be on the happy diet, 1.6 versus 0.74. Pause. Reflect on that stat. Then pause and reflect on what makes it into your shopping cart and your mouth today. That's today's plus one. Let's do the happiness diet math for ourselves and for our families and colleagues and loved ones a little more today.